Hello, folks, wherever you're tuning in from around the world. Welcome back. It's March 26th, 2026, and I have breaking news published by News 24 a short while ago. According to News 24, they report that France has withdrawn President Cyril Ramaphosa's G7 summit invitation due to pressure from the United States. France apparently has revoked Ramaphosa's invitation to the G7 summit in June of this year in Evian, France. Now, according to South African presidency spokesman Vincent Magwenya, he claims U.S. pressure on France has been sustained and included a threat by the United States to boycott the G7 summit if South Africa is represented in Evian. And he said the following: they couldn't risk a key member of the G7, hence the withdrawal of the invitation, which President Macron personally extended to President Ramaphosa during last year's G20 summit in South Africa. Now, Magwenya also said that we've accepted the French decision and appreciate the pressure they've been subjected to. The journalist writing the story for News 24 couldn't help himself delving beyond reporting the news, this breaking news story, and going into opinion, opining the following. News 24's journalists said that they can't help themselves with this. No, they can't help themselves, the U.S. he's referring to. And he basically injected his own personal comments into the story and proving once again that despite Peter Dutoit's claims that News 24 is the only real journalism out there, this is fake news. He said the following: Macron offered Ramaphosa staunch support during South Africa's G20 presidency, which Washington tirelessly sought to undermine. Now, that's utter nonsense. The only thing the United States did is said they won't attend it. Now, this, of course, came, and this is where there's a lack of objectivity or honesty in the reporting by News 24. The U.S. rejection of attending it came after Cyril Ramaphosa announced that South Africa was going to violate its own constitution and the International Declaration of Human Rights by expropriating property without compensation, and then attacking the president, calling him stupid, saying he didn't know what was going on, doesn't know what he's talking about. And beyond that, the United States, once that got in motion, we suspended assistance to South Africa because it violates its own constitution. We cannot support regimes that don't follow the rule of law. Therefore, foreign aid was ended. But that had nothing to do with the G20. The United States did not seek to undermine the G20. It was the ANC who undermined the United States and Argentina and others at this by doxing the names of officials who went there, which is not public information, for these closed-door meetings, for the Sherpa meetings, by denying the representatives from the United States and Argentina the opportunity to interject comments and shutting down discussion repeatedly to force through their beggar's bowl agenda for the G20 summit. That's what South Africa did. They undermined the G20. The United States did not tirelessly seek to undermine South Africa's G20 summit. Trump early on said, when Ramaphosa visited in May, and he was asked shortly after that about the G20, he said before that, I'm not going to go. I probably won't go because of South Africa's positions. That doesn't undermine their presidency. That's a statement that he doesn't want to participate in a country that can't follow the rule of law. So, is this really what's going on? Did the United States pressure France and Emmanuel Macron to remove an invitation, to revoke an invitation to Ramaphosa? France and Macron, which tirelessly attack the USA over and over again, especially Trump, on numerous issues, they're suddenly kowtowing to Washington, D.C. over an issue like this. It may be true, but it beggars the imagination. France goes its own way on so many things and attacked. In fact, Macron has attacked President Trump over the Iran conflict. He's attacked President Trump over tariffs. He's attacked President Trump over so many things, and the United States. And suddenly, we're supposed to believe that France is kowtowing to pressure from Washington, D.C.? Do you honestly think that Washington spends that much time focused on anything about South Africa? Obviously, South Africa has received no negative actions from the United States. The United States has not removed them from the Swiss banking system. They have not worked and interceded to prevent loans from the IMF and World Bank. In fact, quite the contrary, they facilitated those loans to the ANC. The United States has not placed any sanctions on anybody or anything in South Africa. We've not banned American companies from doing business there. All of these stories about tirelessly attacking and undermining the sovereignty of South Africa are all poppycock. So, with the constant disinformation campaign by Fikile Mbalula, Gwede Mantashe, Cyril Ramaphosa, Ronald Lamola, and Luthuli House, are we supposed to believe that the U.S. actually pressured France into doing this? They may have, but it sure feels a lot more like disinformation campaign. Perhaps, ladies and gentlemen, just maybe, just maybe, the chickens are coming home in a roost for the ANC and Lutuli House. The constant insults, verbal abuse, the undermining U.S. foreign policy, U.S. national interests, the tariffs, the barriers to our trade, all the things that the South African government and South African entities have done against America and its interests and our friends, partners, and allies may be coming home to roost. Because of Ramaphosa's visit to the United States last year, lots of attention has been focused on social media, but also in the press on South Africa. And apparently, it's possible many people around the world are beginning to wake up and see that what is happening in South Africa is no different than what the National Party did. The only thing is the script has been flipped from who's in charge to who's being oppressed. And maybe, just maybe, France is waking up to that reality. Or maybe the utterings of Fikile Mbalula and others in the ANC have made the African National Congress and South Africa brands toxic and something that nobody wants to be associated with. Maybe, just maybe, that's why France disinvited them. I mean, it's a long time till June. There was plenty of time for the U.S., if they're pressuring France, to work out an agreement. I don't know. Maybe the U.S. pressured them, but it seems a bit of a stretch. And if they did, so what? South Africa's not a member of the G-7. Hell, they're not even one of the top 30 economies in the world. They're 39th largest economy in the world. And that's a stretch in and of itself. It's a shrinking economy. When you figure in inflation in real terms, the economy's getting smaller. So why should South Africa be there? It's a SOT to Africa. If you're going to do a SOT to Africa, you should invite Nigeria or Ethiopia or Egypt, real economies that are growing. Anyway, do you believe it? I don't believe it. And if it is true, I don't believe it because we're so accustomed to disinformation coming from the government of South Africa, especially the past 3 to 5 years. So you decide for yourself. Bottom line, breaking news, Ramaphosa will not attend the G7 summit in Evian, France. Whatever the reason, it's a good development. This is a country's political party that supports terror states and terrorists, inviting them to naval exercises, going to their country and having their chief of defense profess his fealty to Iranian terrorists. Yes. And now proudly proclaiming that South African flag vessels are transiting the Strait of Hormuz unmolested. Of course, it's a benefit of being friends of a terror regime. Cheers.